All right. Welcome to tonight's show. This is the usual. I am struggling, y'all. I'm fighting with my system again tonight. Thank you to everyone who is here on time. Shout out to Eustace. Go ahead and drop your city and state so that I can say hello when you guys come in. I have a great show lined up for you tonight. I'm going to be interviewing Lionell Tillman, and he's going to be telling his story about his struggles with the child support system. I go live every Tuesday night on YouTube from 7 to 9 Central Time. And so I hope you can join us next week. I am going to bring him up on the stage and we are going to get this conversation started. Hi there. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. And yourself, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Ooh, this has been an interesting story to read up on. Of course, I did a little bit of research, so I'm excited to share it with the viewers. I asked people on Instagram to share their stories if they had some, and we have been hearing that, this is not just exclusive to you as far as things going haywire. And so I think it's going to touch a lot of people's hearts. It's a very sensitive subject. And we talked about it a couple weeks back. And so this will just kind of be a continuation of that topic. But I want to say, first of all, hello, welcome.
How you doing? Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So those of you tuning in, drop your city and state, and we are going to start off right away. I actually usually like to turn on, my Instagram, and I forgot to remind folks. Just give me 1 second, y'all. Y'all know how it is over here. Let's see. Join us on YouTube.
There we go.
Us on YouTube. There's a million things going on, so it gotta remind folks. Okay, there we go. All right, we got Brooklyn, New York in the house. Very nice.
We're Brooklyn.
It's crazy. New York is actually my largest following, but I hardly ever see them in the comments saying New York. So, all right. So let's get to these first questions, and bear with me. I'm still new to StreamYard, so I struggle just a little bit. We're going to start out with just the basics of your story. I'm going to ask a lot of the nitty gritty, but just kind of get us up to speed on, what it is in general that made your story so unusual. By the way, guys, those of you watching on Instagram, watch on YouTube. I've got Lionell Tillman. He is about to break down his battle with child support. It is a juicy conversation. So go ahead and go to my YouTube page, Chasing Yancy, and catch it live right now. We're going to do Q&A at the very end. So how do we get here? How are we even dealing with child support? Why are you associated with child support in any way? What is your story? Let's dig into it.
First, I just like to get this before we even get into the conversation. I just want everyone to know I'm not an attorney. I do not provide legal advice.
Say that.
If you're seeking legal advice, go seek a legal attorney. I'm not your guy. Also, anything that you hear today, it is not advocating anything for anyone to not take care of their children. I just like to get that out the gate.
I'm glad you said that, because that was one of my questions.
First and foremost. So for me, I found out about my child support case 7 years after it started. So when I first turned 18, the case had started. I'm hustling in the streets. I didn't have a job. When I got a job, it was 7 years later, and it was probably about 6 months into it, and I get a call from HR. And HR said, come to. I go in HR, and they like, hey, we just got an income withholding order for child support. I'm like, child support? What do you mean? And we go through that whole spiel, and they're telling me they're going to start garnishing your checks effective immediately. They give me the paper.
This time you don't know about any children.
No,
okay.
No, so let me. I'm not gonna get on here a lot. I'm aware of the actual child, but I wasn't aware of that there was a child support on
that me. It was associated with you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm like, I contact them and they tell me, well, you had 6 months to respond, and it's been 7 years. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean it's been 7 years? They say, yeah, the case been open for 7 years. You had 6 months to respond according to family code such and such. Your response now is untimely. There's nothing that can be done. You may want to go down to the court and talk to the family law facilitator, but ain't nothing can be done. Long story short, and
Yeah.
that's what I was told for the next 13 years.
So when you first were told that you had child support coming, was your first thought that you had a biological child out there somewhere?
No, I was just confused. I didn't like. That's why the chapter 2 of my book is titled "What the fuck," because that was my mindset
Right.
as as they're telling me you have child support. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean I got child support? So
Right.
no, there was nothing like, oh well, maybe that one time. Nothing crossed my mind as to, I mean, so
Right.
no.
So I gotta say this fun fact, and I apologize. I'm updating my Instagram caption. Let the viewers know how old you were when this alleged creation of the child took place.
So at the time when the child was conceived, I was 12 years old.
So,
Yeah.
fun fact, why could he not legally be your child? I saw this on another interview, but I thought that was the most
Yeah.
interesting part.
12 years old when the child was allegedly conceived. Now, and I'm transparent, but for
Right.
me, like I really don't even like talking about this part because it is actually irrelevant to the story and it plays no part in why the case got dismissed, and it's not my goal to tear her down because anything that
Mm-hmm.
I say in regards to her is going to make her look bad, and that's just
Okay.
not that's just not my goal. But
So, but the reason why I wanted to get into that, and I appreciate. She said I can't hear. That's because the video is happening on YouTube. You guys go to YouTube, watch it over there, and you can hear his juicy story. Okay, go ahead and watch on. Go ahead and watch on Insta or on YouTube. I should actually do so you guys can see. See, come on over. All right. We got to remind folks to come on over. All
come
right.
on
So the
in,
reason,
come on
come
in.
on, the water's warm, I was like to say. So the reason I wanted to say this is that it makes it even more incredulous what we're about to hear,
Yeah.
because it would be one thing if there was even a question. But like you
Hmm.
said, you hadn't even hit puberty yet, or, you said on a previous interview, you hadn't hit puberty yet. You were
Right.
12. And so you would think that just these facts alone would make alarm bells go off. So that's the reason why I wanted
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
point that particular part out. Okay. Welcome, guys. Welcome. We got Jersey in the house. Welcome, guys. Jewel says she's here. She said, hey, it's Foxy. All right. Nice to see you guys. Drop your city and state if you haven't done so already. All right. So far, we're just catching you up to speed. If you haven't heard so far, and if you're still watching on Instagram, come on, go to YouTube. You were called in, you had a new job, you were
Hmm.
called into HR. They said, hey, you owe your wages are getting garnished for a
Hmm.
child that you didn't know you had. All right. So
Correct.
now you call in. What's the first step that you take to see what the next step would be?
Well, I called them immediately just based on the
Mhm.
number that was on the piece of paper. So I called them, I go into one of the other rooms. I called them,
Oh,
it's a
straight from
while.
work.
Yeah, I'm still there because
Okay, okay.
this in real time. It's like it's Friday, it's payday. You telling me I'm looking at my check, half of my check is already gone. I'm like, no, I need to figure this out right now.
Right.
So I call them there. And like the crazy part is, and I don't think I ever even said this part, like at this point, I'm leaving the job, but I'm still on the phone with them because they had me on hold for a while. And at the time, I wasn't doing too good. Like I said, it was my first job. I'm on the bus. So I'm walking to the bus stop, still on hold, trying to figure
Wow.
out what's going on with my check. So, they tell me, hey, it's been 7 years. You had 6 months to respond. Ain't nothing we can do, basically. And that's what it was.
Okay. So at this point, did you feel like this is just going to be it? Or did you immediately go? Because knowing your story and how much action you took, I know that was a progression. You didn't immediately
Yeah,
just start
yeah.
knowing the law and all that. So what was your first thought when that all happened? Did you feel discouraged? Because you were what, in your early 20s at this point?
Yeah, at that point, I was 23, I believe, when I found
Okay.
out. I want to
So
say
you're
I was
still a
23.
kid, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, 18. No, I was 25 because it was 7 years had
Okay.
passed. Yeah. So I was 25. Yeah. At this point, I'm confused. I'm just totally confused. And once they're telling me that there's nothing that can be done, I'm still not sure until I actually go down to the actual court building. So I
Okay.
go to the court building and I speak to the family law facilitator, and they, looking at the papers, and they're like, yeah, it's been 7 years. And they pointed out, according to family code, you got 6 months, it's nothing that can be done.
Right.
It's done. And so from at that point, I did feel defeated. It was just like, how could this even happen? It's just a whole bunch of things that's going in my mind. And that misrepresentation of the facts went on for another 13 years, 15 years.
So that's the perfect segue to what I want to talk about. Now, I will tread carefully because I know you said you don't want to disparage her. However, I'm going to honor that as much as I can because I don't want to do that either. But the goal of my questions is to unpack the flaws in the system. And so it's not meant to be shame, how could she do this? But more so, how is this environment allowing her to do this? So
Right.
I entitled this segment the false claim that started it all. So if I'm a woman carrying a child or just had a kid or whatever the case may be, what do I need to do to allege that Bob is the father? What all do I have to do? How it is set up right now?
This is what I'm about to say is not even my opinion. This is fact. Just, I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, I walked into child support's office. I got my camera on. I'm recording myself.
Yeah.
Just so happened, a young lady walks in. She says, hey, I want to start a child support case. The receptionist tells her the very first thing that came out of her mouth, you got a social security number? That's all we need. That's the very first thing she asked her. It's on camera. I posted it on my Instagram.
Wow.
That's it.
And you said something, I didn't write the word down, but you said in the judicial system, you are innocent until proven guilty. But in this, break that down for me.
In the administrative, so child support.
Administrative, okay.
In the administrative process, child support is not judicial. So the child custody aspect, anything to deal with custody, visitation, domestic violence, any of that deals with that aspect, that's the judicial process. But once it goes over to child support enforcement, that's part of the administrative process, which falls under the executive branch. And at that point, they work under prima facie. The word is prima facie, and what that says is, I want everyone to Google it. It's PRMIA, second word FACIE, prima facie. Prima facie says that the courts take whatever is filed as true and correct until you provide evidence to say that it's not.
Whew. So Shantae asked the question, a DNA test would have solved all this though, which don't answer that, right? We're going to get into you would think, Shantae, you would think, trust me, I got a lot of questions for him. So were you going to say something before I continued?
And that's like, and that was one of the main reasons why I really wanted to do this interview with you, being the fact that you are a woman, and most of the interviews I have done to this point were with men. And as a woman, I just felt you were going to ask different questions from a whole nother perspective. So it's like, once you reached out, I was like, I want to do it.
And it's so funny you said that, because there was this video, this reel, and it said men and women tell stories so differently. And they were saying how the guy would come home and be like, so-and-so, got fired from his job. The woman would be like, so he had a new baby coming, and like we go into all these details. So as I was watching, right. I was watching some of the other interviews, no shade to them, but I was just like, I have so many more questions. Like, I want to know about this. We need to dive deeper into this. So that's funny. But absolutely, we're gonna get to all the who, what, when, where, and why. So one of the comments says she definitely deserves jail time for that. Again, we're not bashing her. I would like your opinion, not on her and if she deserves it, but what do you think in general? If someone knowingly, not there were two different hookups and there was a mistake, we thought, like, if someone blatantly and knowingly fraudulently fills out a report,
Yes.
do you think that should, this is an opinion, do you think that person should serve jail time?
In my opinion, yes, 1000%. Because you went and lied and falsified evidence or made a false statement or whatever it is that you did. So the answer is yes, 1000%.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. Yeah,
it's when it's done knowingly, not I checked the wrong box on a form, I didn't realize what that represented. You know, this is affecting someone's life. And speaking of affecting someone's life, I want you to get into, y'all, we haven't even fully unpacked his story yet. I'm kind of teasing you a little bit, but I do want to get into the personal side of this. How did this case affect you day by day in your daily life? Now, I know you will just continuously have this cloud over you. There's that stress that's just that ongoing stress. But what are some of the specific things that happen? I know I heard on one of the interviews about your passport, about your license. So let's get into some of those, like the nitty gritty, because we know the money is a thing, like the money's gone. But what are the other things that people might not think about that filing a false report is going to affect a person? Well, if it is a real one.
You got to think about it, and just even things that I never even talked about, and we never even like dove into it. The things like just child support is on your credit report.
So, I just saw that on your page today.
Therefore, you're going, whether you're trying to get finance for a car, apartment, all of these things. So now you got this 25,000, 30,000 arrears in the red. Is this debt? Your credit score is low. So and in addition to that, they're judging because it's like, wait, you ain't even taking care of your kids. Like, why would I even want to rent to you? Why would I want to lease to you? These things, in addition to my driver's license, the driver's license suspension is their number one coercion tactic, because they go after your driver's license to coerce you to pay this debt.
Right. Which it's a struggle to pay the debt if you're without a car or throwing someone in jail and they can't pay their debt because they're in jail.
And this is just logical thinking, but the Department of Justice sent out a Dear Colleague letter to child support in 2016. When Trump came into office, he put the Attorney General on chokehold. They rescinded it, came back. They just released it April 20th, 2023, and that notice went to the courts and to child support. And it outlined that suspending people's license, passports, incarceration, all of these things, they're unlawful unless you give that person a poverty hearing. It's called an indigent hearing. So if you don't you have to give them a whole separate hearing to even see if they're even able to pay these fines and fees.
Wow.
If you don't give them that hearing, that suspension, that hold is actually unlawful and is null and void. Because you didn't afford them due process.
Right.
So for me, my license was suspended. In addition to that, I'm paying them on top of the money they taking from me every month. I'm paying them additional $50 every month so I can keep my license. But every year, once a year, my license got suspended for a system error. Every year. So every year, I have to call them and say, hey, my license got suspended. I'm paying y'all the $50. They looking in the system. Oh, it's a system error. Pay additional $50, even though it's a system error. Pay another $50 for the release of the license. And now you got to turn around and pay the DMV $75 to reinstate your license.
Sounds like a hustle.
Right. Every year.
Wow. And this, when you're in your 20s, 50, 75, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money when you're at that. Yeah.
I'm going to keep it real with you. At one point, I was on GR. They're giving me $256 a month. This before like at one point, because I started working through GR. They got me a job, so now I'm getting paid a little bit more. It was a temporary job. Once that ended, now I'm back on GR. I'm only getting $256 a month. They're taking $10 of the $256 plus the $50. So I'm off. It's like, what are y'all doing?
Right. Super, super super discouraging. And you guys keep in mind, this is something that he did not have to pay. This is not something that he was legally supposed to pay. Let's backtrack a little bit. There was something that you talked about with regards to notice. What is their legal duty, according to their own laws, the system's laws, for notifying or opting in to the child support system? What is required by law as of right now?
So to understand child support, you have to take it back to family court. And
Okay.
Before you even get to child support, Title 4A is child support. What is Title 4A? Title 4 of the Social Security Act, it is the government program that they started in 1935 in order to support needy families, because at that time it was the Great Depression and then men went to war. At that time, women couldn't work. So if a man went to war, then how else would the woman support their children? So they started Title 4A to assist needy families.
Okay.
Now here's the thing. Once it now is 1975, they're looking at it and saying, hey, we giving out too much of this free money. It's a grant. What are we giving this money out to? They look and see, oh, this is a lot of underprivileged areas. So now they created an amendment to the Social Security Act in 1975, which is Title 4D, aka child support. It's enforcement to go back and collect the money from. It's a grant. What is a grant?
Free money.
Free money. So if they're giving out money as a grant, but then 1975, they come back and say, oh, we're going after this person for giving out free money so they're double dipping. So that's child support. But in order for them to move from family court to child support, paternity must be established.
Okay.
And in order for paternity, at any point when they attempt to establish paternity, whether in a hospital when they're signing the birth certificate or the acknowledgement of paternity, or whether if you're not present and you show up to a hearing and they send you a summons and you come in to take a DNA test, or if you show up to an actual court hearing or whenever paternity is being established, at that point, under 45 CFR, that's Code of Federal Regulations 303.5, they must provide the mother and the alleged father the legal consequences of establishing voluntary paternity. What are the legal consequences? If you fall behind or whatever the case may be, you are consenting to bank levies, license suspension, passport withholdings, income withholding orders, all of these things. But if they don't provide you with that legal disclosure, paternity is never established. And so therefore they can't even move forward to child support. So it's a whole lot that has to be done.
So most people are entering in and consenting, you're saying, without realizing it, signing on the dotted line, not realizing that they are now involving the state or, whatever in their matters. And I have to ask this question, of course, because I know this is going to come up. Are you anti-child support?
No, I feel 1000%. If a person is willfully and intentionally not supporting their offspring, they deserve to be on child support. 1000%.
Okay, just had to get that out there. So take that as a soundbite, y'all. All right.
Yeah, 1000%.
So let's get into this. Why did the process take so long? If I'm hearing the story and I hear that someone's alleging that at 12 years old you impregnated someone, conceived a child, 7 years later finally let you know about it, you would think, well, just take a DNA test, so it's not mine, and then go on your merry way, and whatever they took from that first check, you get that back, right? Case closed, done. Why is it not happening that way?
Because at that point, they're saying they already told you that nothing can be done. They're not going to go back and do a DNA testing. We're not even going to go
no
back.
reason
That's
given.
not
It's what's done is done.
family. Now you're going to make me go and find the actual family code. But according to family code something, you have 6 months to respond. After that, your response is untimely according to them. And if
that's right. Okay, so you missed the
that's
boat.
what it is. I missed the boat.
You missed the boat. You were 7 years too late. Well, 6 years and 6 months too late. So then, of course, you're going to say, well, I was never notified. So why tell that story? That's the first interview I actually saw was this story where you were on the phone with the lady who said, this is what you did.
So here it is. It's now we're in 2020. So it's been 13 years. We're going through this process. License suspended every year. I'm calling them. Hey, my license suspended. This particular year is just like, why? Why do we have to continue doing this? You're going to tell me it's a system error. I know. I got to pay you $50. We've done this dance.
Right.
I've done it before. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm even going through this. Like, this shit is fraud. And the lady said, fraud? What do you mean fraud? You got served.
Right.
I said, wait, I got served? She said, yeah, you got served. I said, okay, well, tell me what day I got served. She placed me on hold. She comes back.
Receipts, please.
Man, she placed me on hold. I'm waiting. She come back. I'm sorry, Mr. Tillman. We don't have your signature. I'm looking at the phone like, I know you ain't got my goddamn signature.
This is where you messed up. Mm-hmm.
But before I can even get anything out, she says, well, that don't matter anyway because you volunteered into the program. I did what? She said, yeah, you volunteered into the program. I said, well, what day did I volunteer? She said, yes, we have your signature. You volunteered. I said, okay, well, tell me what day I volunteered. I bull crap you not. This lady puts me on hold. I'm waiting. She comes back. I'm sorry, Mr. Tillman. We do not have your signature. I'm going crazy on the phone. I need to speak to the manager. I'm going crazy. As anyone would at this point.
Yes.
She gets me to the unbuzzed department. They are the internal affairs for the police. They didn't do nothing. Basically, the guy says, she made a mistake. She shouldn't have told you that they had your signature. It didn't happen. That's that.
But the cat's out of the bag now.
So now, I'm like, okay, well, what else are they supposed to do? So now I start doing research. This is how I come and find 45 CFR 303.5. This is how I find, they must serve you. If you're not served, then it's null and void.
Yes.
I said, and then I find out child support is voluntary. So now my mind is racing.
Yes.
It's going. Now, it's a few months done passed, and I'm doing research. I'm going to get married. We applied for passports. We think we're going to go to Punta Cana.
You thought?
I thought. I applied. It's like, okay, we get married in July. It's maybe April or whenever it was. We applied for the passports. June come, rip that thing open. Denial. Your passport is on hold to child support. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So now I got to tell my fiance, I ain't going to Punta Cana. I can't go. They telling me I got to pay this. At this point, it was like $50-some thousand in arrears. And they telling you got to pay it down to get at least $2,500 in order for you to get forced to release your passport.
Wow. Because they had been collecting for those first 7 that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Right.
So the first 7, when I first found out about it, the arrears, I want to say it was around like $22,000 or $24,000 in arrears already. So when I found out about it, I was already in arrears.
Right.
It was nothing. What can you do?
Right.
And those arrears, I interviewed it's crazy. I interviewed a young lady who worked at Child Support Services, the exact location where my case was. And she broke it down. She said the reason why the interest grows so fast and so high is because every year they add on a 10% compounded interest onto every dollar. So every year, every dollar, your dollar is having babies. They're adding on 10% to every dollar.
I
every
know
year.
somebody who was like short $10 and didn't realize it, and the way that it exponentially grew was astounding.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we need to have 401ks like that. We need to have retirement packages
hey,
like that. Take my
man,
$10 and turn it into a million. My goodness. So it's
yes,
messing up your passport. You're getting your license, dealing with that drama every year. Not to mention now you have this huge debt following you around in your 20s. How did you start to make headway? What's the story with, digging? Because you became a whole detective and looking for where allegedly you were served and all this stuff. So why don't you tell that story? Because that's a really fascinating story.
yeah. So I mean, the battery that got put in my back was I was already doing my research, but once
Mhm.
they with the whole passport thing, and we lost the $3,800 going to Punta Cana, it was like she was like, "Yo, you got to fix it. You need to fix this." And I really dove into, the research, and once I found what it is that they were supposed to do, I started gathering my evidence, and then I eventually took them to court, and I went to the court. I went and got copies of the summons, the complaint, the proof of service, the default, and the actual judgment to see what it is that they filed against me.
Okay.
And once I had those documents in my hand, I already knew that they didn't serve me. So, because she already told me that. But once I looked at the proof of service, it said that they served somebody named Michael Tillman. And I'm like, Michael Tillman?
You told me your name was Lionel.
It is. And Michael is a common name, but there's no one named Michael in my family.
Right.
So I'm looking at him like, whoa, Michael Tillman. Ain't no Michael in my family. I'm
Right.
looking at the address. It says it's a Compton address. I'm like,
Shout out to Compton.
right. I mean, that's where I'm from. And I'm like,
That's where my
okay.
dad's
But
from.
I'm like, what? We moved from Compton to Watts when I was still a minor. I was 17 years old. I can't get my own place. So if my grandmother and my mother moved, I moved too.
Right.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, all right. And I'm doing my other research. 28 USC 1691 says that all writs and processes issued in the court of the United States must be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. I found a Supreme Court case law, I believe it's Scamby versus Tryon, that says that any document that's signed by a deputy clerk is void for lack of a judicial signature. So now I'm looking at it, deputy clerk, oh, this shit is void all the way around. So
You
I'm
became a
looking at
whole
it
attorney.
because this lady told me that they didn't do something. Now I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
what else are they supposed to do.
Yes. Yes.
So at that point, I took them to court, and at that point, it was game on. Let's dance.
So you got to you got to talk about when you broke open the case, though. When you said you did the research to find out where the notice had been sent,
Oh
you
yeah,
found the address. You got to just tell that little part
yeah,
because
yeah.
I was
So
fascinated by
yeah,
that.
so what I found was the homeowner of the time. Think Google can be your friend or it can be your worst enemy. So what I did was I Googled the address, and thankfully I went to the county clerk's office. I went and got the deed of trust. So now I can see who was the owner back when my grandmother owned or when my grandmother was renting, and who was the owner today. It was the
Okay.
same person. I said, okay, well, here's her address. She lives in Gardena. Okay, I already know what I'm finna do. I sent her a subpoena. I need you to
I'm
come
playing games.
testify. No games. So first, I just sent her a regular notice. She didn't do nothing. She didn't budge, nothing. I had to send her a subpoena. Sent her a subpoena. She showed up. She said, hey, here's all my documents. At this day and time, I didn't have no tenants living there. After your grandmother and mother moved out, I didn't have no tenant there for a whole nother year. She had police records to show that the house was vandalized during that time. It was vacant. In addition to that, I subpoenaed LADWP, which is the Department of Water and Power. I need y'all to come and
Your
testify.
wife said, "Figure it out." You said, "I'm gonna figure this out."
I need to figure it out. I subpoenaed LADWP. They came and testified and showed records saying, hey, on this day, we didn't have no power there. So no one could have lived there. At that point, it's like, hey.
And the thing that's so scary is you found the smoking gun.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody admitted in the system, you were able to then dig and go down the rabbit hole, and it ended up being undeniable that no one lived there, therefore no one could have been served. But I think about the person who's in that situation who doesn't have that, like somebody who doesn't have the
Mm-hmm.
ability to prove. And it just goes back to that whole thing about you are guilty until proven innocent. And,
Right.
not to be super, super dark, but I could see somebody falling off the deep end over something
Of
like this.
course. Of
I
course.
could absolutely see them being so overwhelmed that, they're taking other measures. It's just, you put someone under so much pressure, and some people are going to break.
And not to glorify this in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but it was just headlines maybe about a month ago. A guy who got his child taken away from him, he lost in family court. He went and shot the judge, and this was in Houston, in Texas, I believe.
Mm.
It was just last month or 2 months ago. He followed the judge home and shot the judge.
He just
Like,
went off the deep end.
he
Yeah.
went on the deep end. It's just like these people, they don't understand the lives that they affect. Now, like,
Yes.
again, I'm not oblivious to that some people don't take care of their kids. We ain't talking
Right.
about them. I'm
Right.
talking about the people that are actively fighting and the people that, like me, that had no inclination or any, like, there's no reason why you're taking this person from out this home or removing this person, giving them every other weekend. Why would you do that? Because they are incentivized to put people on child support and they get a kickback.
That was my next question.
Right.
Yeah, is it incentivized? Is fraud
Yeah.
incentivized?
Yes. They are incentivized. They receive, it is. I'm not, I just want to look it up because I want to make sure I give y'all the correct, and it is 42 USC 658A, incentive payments to states. They get incentivized states get incentivized $500 million annually based on their performance to collect child support, to collect their arrears, all of these things. The better their performance, the higher they're incentivized. So therefore, when people ask me, how can you why don't you become an attorney, or why can't you hire an attorney? Why don't you advocate for people getting attorneys? I said, well, for one, you're in a state hearing where the state is incentivized on the back end. You're going off of state codes. You cannot get a fair trial based on due process in this state hearing because they're getting a kickback based on
Yes.
their performance to put you on child support.
Right. They'd be shooting themselves in the foot trying to, and that's that's the thing that is so discouraging, is that, for somebody who, let's say, has a situation and is overwhelmed by it, you're going up against a system,
Yeah.
similar to when we talk about, the civil rights movement and things like that. People say, oh, why don't you just, because the system is not intended for you to win. It's not intended to have justice as the outcome. It's meant to support itself and continue feeding the monster. So that is why I wanted to do, yes, your story is titillating and we can say, oh, that sucks for you. But the bigger picture, no, not saying your situation is not important, but I'm saying the reason why I wanted to use my platform to have this conversation is because the system itself is broken. And as you mentioned, there are people who are put on there because they're not in their child's life, they're not contributing, and that is the only, solution that the other parent has. But for all of these broken pieces, they need to be fixed. So I want to talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you say that, because I know I'm going to forget it, and I just want to
Okay.
touch on this real quick. The child support system is not broken. it's working exactly the way it was
It's doing
designed
the way
to
it's
work.
supposed to do.
That's
Yes, yes.
and this is not my opinion. This is fact. Everyone, get your pens and pads. We going to school today. You're gonna learn today. So there's a Supreme Court case law. Supreme Court case law is the highest law in the land. It don't get no higher than that. There's a case law called Blessing versus Freestone, where child support got sued for the money that they was collecting. The 5 women from Arizona said, hey, you taking all of the money. Where's our money? They said, no, that's not your money. That's our money. In that case, they had to tell on themselves to keep the money. They said, well, child support was never intended to benefit the child nor the custodial parent. It was intended to benefit the state. They literally said that.
Oh.
So that system is working exactly the way it was designed. They said, no, that ain't your money. It was never intended to benefit you nor your kid. It was intended to benefit our employer, which is the state.
It reminds me of, this is a little bit of a stretch, but it reminds me of the whole thing about tolls. I was told that when I learned, going through school as a kid, tolls were set up just to be a one-time payment in order to create, let's say, the road or the bridge or whatever. And then once whoever was in charge realized, wait a minute, this is a reoccurring fee.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it going. And we were taking the toll the other day, and my guy and I were driving to the airport, and the road was horrendous, potholes everywhere. And I said, I've never seen anything like this. In Texas, you have to pay a toll to go to the airport, like campus, or what do you call it? Like just like the area of the airport. You have to pay a toll just to get in. I was like, these roads should be paved with gold. There should be not a pothole. Right. There should be people on the side with palm branches feeding us grapes. Like, for the amount of money they are collecting, but it just becomes a business. So sorry to digress, but that's just, that's just wild. So I want to get into, and I say this very, very tongue in cheek, fun facts about the child support system. We already did the first one where you were saying that it's guilty until proven innocent. Anything else that would be surprising? I know you mentioned, I asked you a question, I'm shooting more information at you, but I know you mentioned on one of the videos that I saw that child support legally should not be on your credit report if you're back support or what have you. Can you get into that?
Yeah, so 20 years ago, child support was notified by TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian that the laws have changed. And that they are not supposed to put child support on anyone's credit report because it did not start from a credit transaction. What the bureaus did, they gave child support an out though. They said, look, while we're figuring this out, we're relying on you to follow the new regulations. So we notified you, so therefore it ain't on us. If you get sued and you still doing it, that's on you. But now child support is just waiting on everyone to come and give them a notice and say, hey, the regulations changed 20 years ago. Why? Because they work under prima facie. You're guilty until proven innocent.
What was it that you said? I should have done a better job of taking notes, but you said you gave somebody some kind of game and people were rushing to go print out forms, and they actually started stipulating that you'd be penalized if you filled out a form. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Oh, yeah. So that's here in Los Angeles, I just posted it earlier today. Again, people that went and got the summons, the complaint, the proof of service, and their notices from the clerk at the court here in Los Angeles, they now they have a kiosk. So, and if you go and get your documents printed out from the kiosk,
y'all listen to this.
The kiosk tells you, print these documents out, you're waiving all of your rights, and you cannot come after us legally for anything that you find here. So I'm telling people, it's like, that is crazy. Like, you cannot do that.
I'm going to accuse you of something. I'm going to have all the evidence that you would need to be able to recuse you or get out of what you're doing or prove your innocence. But I'm going to penalize you if you try to. So you can't make this stuff up.
So for me, if I'm looking at that, I'm like, wait, my mind is going to think, well, something ain't right. Y'all trying to cover something up. Why?
Big time.
What gives me the right to come after you? If you telling me that I can't come after you, that tells me that I can come after you. And so what I tell you, I was like, hey, if it was me, I would get the documents from the actual person and not the kiosk, because now they're trying to force people to go to the kiosk, because at that point you waived your right.
This is so wild. You gave some advice about.
No, I didn't.
You
I gave
talked
my
about.
opinion, right?
There you go. You gave your opinion
Mhm.
on the non-custodial and custodial parenting. It was something touching upon that. So can you share, because that is something very common. We have the custodial parent, the non-custodial parent. What is it that most people are not aware of that they are entitled to, as if they are?
Yes, they are entitled. There's a Supreme Court case law called Santowski versus Kramer. I told y'all we're going to school today. Santowski versus Kramer. That Supreme Court case law says that every natural parent has a the fundamental liberty interest in the care, custody, and management of their children. That can, if you violate that, it is unconstitutional.
Okay.
Now, but here's the problem. People, when you going through these family court hearings, and you're saying, okay, we'll give you joint legal custody. And you're thinking, yeah, I got custody of my kids.
Right.
No, you don't. You just got joint legal custody. All that means is y'all make decisions on school and hospital. That's it. But you are not a physical custodial parent. Therefore, you are a non-custodial parent. And if you don't claim or invoke your parental rights as a custodial parent, they presume that you waived them, because everything in this hearing works under presumption. So if you don't know this, it's not their fault, because they wrote a tricky rule for themselves that says ignorance of the law is not a legal defense, and we can't be held liable for your ignorance. So if you in here representing yourself, hey, that's on you.
And y'all, I got in trouble for this last time, but sometimes I laugh when something's wild. I'm not laughing because it's funny. There was something that was wild said on another show. I'm like, well, it's not funny. I'm like, it's not funny. It's one of those kind of, you have to laugh instead of cry type of a situation. So disclaimer, y'all. So what does the person need to do? Is that something lengthy, or is that something you can tell quickly? Did it become a custodial parent?
Yeah. So to be a custodial parent, anyone can just go into family court, demand a mediation hearing. In some cases, they'll say, well, you have to get a mediate. In order to go through mediation, you have to go to a hearing. Okay, so they just told you what to do. I would request a new hearing, because that's what they just told you. The whether you give in mediation immediately, or the fake judge or the real judge is giving you mediation, that's where those demands are made. And going in there saying, invoking your parental rights, I'm a custodial parent, I've never abandoned my children, because again, if you don't claim your parental rights when paternity is being established, at that point they presume that you waiving them because you didn't claim them. So you're like, yeah, I'll let the kids go with her, or I'll let the kids go with him. You just waived your rights. So therefore, you abandon your child, which goes back to 1935, when women couldn't work. So if a man left a woman in 1935, they've abandoned their family. Therefore, now your child and family is or will become dependent upon government assistance. Therefore, you are now the non-custodial parent. They are still enforcing the abandonment rule, law, code, statute from 1935, when women could not work. This is 2023. Times have changed.
So can two parents be considered custodial? I've only heard of.
No,
I see. I didn't know that.
Of course. So here's the thing. I've experienced child support on both sides.
Okay.
They came after me for child support. When I had my daughter, her mother got into some legal troubles. My daughter was around 4 or 5 at the time. I went and got her. I had sole custody of our daughter for 8 years. So she's with me. Her mother, gets her life back together, gets back on track. But again, I told you I was receiving GR. at the time. So when my daughter came with me, the cash aid, the food stamps, and the benefits, they came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So they start going after her for child support. So I got myself together. They stopped. The case stopped, but she still had arrears. So once she get her stuff together, they took her taxes. I said, okay, let's go ahead and shut this down. Ironically, it's a week after I got my own case dismissed. We walk into mediation together. I give her back 50-50 of our daughter. Now we're both equal custodial parents. She takes the new order to child support and say, hey, I'm now a custodial parent. They stop her child support case effective immediately.
Wow.
But she still had the arrears.
Right.
The arrears were still there. And me having her on child support never affected her because the money that I was getting for child support, I would cash the checks and I'd give her the money back. So she never lost the money anyway. So it wasn't affecting her at all. But at this point, when they took her taxes, it's like, hey, I ain't got the money to give you taxes back. Right. Let's go and fix this shit. So I go back in there. I said, look, I thought we just closed out the case. They said, well, yeah, you did close the case, but she still has arrears. So I said, well, how can we address the arrears? And they said, well, you can sign a voluntary case closure form. I went in there, signed a voluntary case closure form, and her arrears was canceled effective immediately. And those was the arrears to the state and to me. It shut it down. And we were now both, to this day, well, our daughter just turned 18 on the 22nd of this month. So now it's gone. But up until last week, we were still 50-50 on our daughter.
Wow. And the boy, speaking of the kids, no longer a boy, he'd be what, 27 now?
Yeah, somewhere around it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy when you put it in context. Like he is older now than you were when you were first notified of this situation.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I was thinking about that this morning. Like my oldest son, he's 10 years old right now. And I was just thinking about this morning. Like he finna be 11 in like 2 months. And I was just like, man, so in a whole nother year, they're saying that my 12-year-old could now be responsible. It's like that. It's like
it puts it in perspective on a different level.
Like, yeah, it's like no.
Yes, he's a baby. He's still a baby. Yeah, my kid's 11 and almost 12, and I can imagine. Even in my 20s, like I said, you're still a child in your 20s, in my opinion. So I could imagine in your 20s walking around like you're new to the adult world and you're just carrying all this debt with you. It's absolutely wild. Okay, this one I am gonna you can pass if not. How did you keep from being so bitter to the point you couldn't move forward when it came to the person who committed fraud on your behalf? How did you deal with that?
Because I understood that it had nothing to do with her. Like as far as, yes, she named me as the father of that child, but everything else that took place, she had no parts in that. She has no.
She didn't know they were going to come after you for child support?
She was getting cash aid, food stamps. She was a kid herself.
Right.
So they're giving her the cash aid, the food stamps, and the Medi-Cal for the kid. So based on that, now they're coming after.
Right, because they won't help unless you have a child support case open. Yeah.
Of course. So I just understood that it didn't. She don't have no policies in place. There's like, what could she have done at that point? Well, she could. I now know she could have went and signed a voluntary case closure form and closed the case,
or reported the real father. That's my thought.
But that's the problem. We've seen it many times where someone actually go in there and take a DNA test, and the DNA proves that this is not their child, but they're still being liable for child support because these people are crazy.
But in this, I want to make sure I understand the situation.
The thing is, you don't have to be the biological father. If they're saying you're the legal father.
Right. Right. But what I'm saying is when she put the name
Mm-hmm.
on the form,
Mm-hmm.
is it your understanding that she consciously knew that you were not the father when she put you down as the father?
No. I tell you the truth, I don't really know, because I never
Okay.
had a relationship with her like that to even know what that situation was. Now so I'm gonna just break it down to you. I'm 12 years old. We're at my Auntie Mabel's house. At Auntie Mabel's house, everything goes. Even when my mother with kids, everything went at Auntie Mabel's house. That was the
Mm-hmm.
spot where the whole family went. You need somewhere to live, you go to Mabel's house. Doors is wide open. The kids, everybody free fall. They take
Mm-hmm.
care of themselves. This is one of my cousin's friends. We all spending the night at Mabel's house. We
Right.
laying next to each other. I'm trying something. I'm 12 years old. I don't even
Right.
know. I
You haven't
never,
had sex ed yet.
yeah,
Right.
I never penetrated the girl.
Right.
So I don't. So to later on during this process, I even spoke to the actual boy. I spoke to him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Man, like, you know, it's crazy." Like, he told me, and he actually wrote a statement for the actual hearing as well, and
Wow.
said that initially she told me that he was my father, referring to me. And later on, she then told me, this is who your real father is. And that's who I know my father to be today. We have an
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
established, this is who I know my father to be.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Because see, I think that's the question that everybody, including me, in the comments I'm seeing, want to know, because even though the system is set up the way it is and it's meant to, you're guilty until proven innocent, we can't help but think, and correct me if I'm wrong, those of you in the audience, the first domino started with her. So I'm wondering
mhm.
if she was advised to do that, or if it was a situation where she just didn't know until later she took a DNA. Just looking at that, because one of the things that does frustrate me is, and I'm somebody who, I'm not an advocate for women, I'm not an advocate for men, I'm an advocate for the truth and justice, in my content, whatever. um I I hate how much it seems like men are targets. Like, there are a lot of things that favor us as women. I
Yeah.
have a son, he's 19 years old, and something that I put in his mind from a very early age is watch your back when it comes to women, because most of
Yeah.
the times you're not given the benefit of the doubt. If the police are called and anyone makes an accusation, it's typically the
Yeah.
guy who's taken away. All these
Of
types of
course.
things. So if there, for example, is there an allegation of an assault of a different nature, typically there isn't a lot that's done to the woman if she later recants her story. So there are a
True.
lot of times where it seems like my gender gets off scot-free, and I think that you're super noble, not going in on that. But to me, that is the other half of the tragedy. The other
Yeah.
half is that this happened, and I'm not going to ask how old you are, but I'm assuming this is about half of your life, if not more than half of your life.
More than half of my life. I'm 45 right now.
Okay, because I don't want to put you on the spot with your
Yeah,
age.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
more than
No,
half of your life. So I just feel like at least it has to be addressed, that it's not okay. I have heard women on social media bragging about child abuse. She said, my ex pissed me off and I made a false report so that he would get just messed up with his kids from a previous relationship. I just think that there's such a casualness to
yeah,
fraud. I don't think that people fully grasp the ramifications unless it was done to them. And I think it's one thing if it's like an accident, it's a car accident and things happen and now you have a lifelong, rehabilitation story. But when someone specifically goes out and does something, that's another level of pain. So I'm frustrated for you, and it's by God's grace and mercy, I'm guessing, that you're not bitter about that part. But that was like the
yeah.
biggest thing where I was like, this started somewhere. Like, this started with a first step that
I
put
mean,
even your name on the on their radar.
see, but also too, like, just to give it context, I'm 12. I think she was 15 at the time. She was a kid herself. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
who knows what mother, grandmother, I don't know. I don't know. And like more context, we're talking, this is in the 1990s. So like it was a totally different realm than what it is right now. So I can't really say. Like I've seen her 3 times in my life. Like I've never had a relationship. I don't like that time when that incident happened where we were trying to do something.
Right.
That was the first time I ever seen a girl in my life. It's not like we were friends. We lived in the same
right.
Mabel House was a revolving door, and friends came and went, and now we ain't friends no more. They gone, and whatever the case may be. Like so, I don't know.
Does she understand the depth to what you went through, or do you not even know that?
I don't know. I can't.
Okay.
I can't say.
It makes me wonder too if the guy, who's now a man, knows what's circling around his life. It's just.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I represented myself in a 2-year hearing, and this is why I don't like to, because everything I say is gonna make her look bad. She never showed up to one hearing. Not one hearing. I represented myself for 2 years, and we had hearings at least once a month, to where the judge is asking, "Hey, where is he?" And then child support is saying, "Well, we notified her. We sent her. She got served. She knows she said she ain't coming."
But let that be, you miss any step and you probably would have been taken to jail in handcuffs. Yeah.
You defaulted. So, and I tell people this, and I thought about this after it was like close towards the end, and I was like, man, had I thought about it, I could have made a demand at that point for the case to be dismissed based on her not being present. And
like your accuser not showing up. Right.
Exactly. The case would have got dismissed, but it would have been dismissed without prejudice, meaning at any point they could have opened it back up, which they would have done. So for me, I'm glad that it went the route that it went.
Right.
And now it's done, and it can never be opened again.
But again, I say bless your heart, because if there was a living person that I felt was the first domino, I don't know that I would have given that much grace. I don't. I'm glad I didn't know what go through to seek justice. I'm glad I never have to find out. My question is regarding the next steps. So we're going to fast forward, you guys. Spoiler alert. He sued. He won. The case was dismissed. You got your coins back. However, you said that wasn't good enough. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So after the case was dismissed for extrensic fraud, they offered to pay me back dollar for dollar with no interest. Just everything we took for you, we give everything back to you. I declined it. I said, no, I'm not taking that. So they, at that point, so I then sued them in federal court for 22 years of damages. So as we speak, there's a $10 million lawsuit in federal court right now for 22 years of damages.
It's like the people who are locked up, and they prove they're innocent, and they're like, okay, we'll just let you go. No. And the money doesn't even begin to scratch the surface for the emotional damage, the stress, the toll it takes in your life.
And the thing is, like, they're fighting so hard against me in this federal lawsuit, because I mean, they're aware of who I am and the platform that I have, because everyone's in that Los Angeles child support system. They know who I am. It's like they're aware.
They probably have like a wanted poster with your face on it.
So they know. So that they're fighting very hard. Like, my first complaint in my civil lawsuit was dismissed because my font size on my documents was 12 and not 14 or higher. And according to federal rules, such and such, your font size has to be 14 or higher.
I got a font size for them right now.
So
Woo!
yeah,
That is, you know what
it's a
would be
fight.
so poetic is if when you like the number that they decided to pay you was based on the exact increment system that back support. Dude, you might get more than 10 million. Oh my God. Okay, so why, after everything happened, did you not just go, whew, this is done. Let me go live my life and chill out, in beautiful Southern California. Yes, I'm biased.
Yeah.
What made you just be on the front lines and be an advocate?
Well, my friends and family wouldn't let me do that because at this point, I'm documenting. I'm a very reserved and private person, so I'm documenting here and there. But once the case got dismissed, I'm in front of the court. Yo, my case just got dismissed. Child support is fraud. That's where the term child support is fraud come from. I'm in the lobby of the court building. So now people are asking me, yo, how did you do it? My family and friends, yo, could you help me? So now people on Instagram, they see the post. Now they're asking me, they're sharing, they're asking their friends. Now people are asking me. So then I start just doing, videos here and there. And it just started to move fast. And like the following just started growing. And then this is on my private page before it got hacked. So I'm on my private page and I'm just like,
it got hacked?
My private page, yes, because
Of
I'm
course
just
it
doing it.
did.
I'm doing it from my private page.
Of course it did.
It gets hacked, but at this time, it's COVID happened. So now we're sitting in the house, and I'm just
I
like,
got time. I got time.
I got time. What am I gonna do? So just like, okay, so let me create a new page. Child support is fraud. I created a whole nother page, and then as soon as when it happened, it just started growing rapidly, rapidly, rapidly. And before I know it, was like 4,000 followers. And it stood there for a while. And again, I'm a private person. So
Right.
for a while, I just kind of laid back. It was like, man, I don't even want to be talking about child support every day because it can drain
Right.
me.
Right.
And then I got the idea to create this book. When I did that, the game changed. The game changed because that book was released December 23rd, 2022.
Okay.
And at that point, I had like 4,000 some followers. Today, it's at 138,000.
Wow.
It ain't even been a full year yet. Like
wow.
It's just something about that physical product. Well, it actually was just a digital product at that time, but just having something tangible for people to, okay, I see you saying all of these things on Instagram. I'm doing my research. Yes, it's making sense. I see, okay, I found that makes, yep. But then once you had something for me to, you just, here it is. At that point, things just started moving real fast. And for me, I'm just following. I'm following God's leading me, and it's taking me to wherever where we going.
What would you say to people who are battling the system right now? Of course, not someone who's not stepping up and not somebody who is erroneously being harassed by the child support system. Do you have any words for them?
Yeah, just keep fighting. Like, and I know that's just, it's like, yeah, keep fighting, but that's what I did, bro. Like I kept fighting until the fight was over. Like, educate yourself, because nobody wants to go to court. I don't give a damn if it's a traffic ticket. You don't want to go to court.
Right.
So it's just, if you educate yourself and you understand their playbook, you know the plays that they're going to run, you know what they're supposed to do. At that point, it's like the Matrix. I see everything clear because I already know what you're supposed to do. I don't have to have this extensive legal background. I'm standing on this. Did you follow your own policy? Yes or no? That's it. You want to go to jail? You want to go home? We're gonna stay right here. That's where I stay at. So just educate yourself and just keep fighting, because at that point it can happen. It's just, are you willing to take it all away?
Are you still representing yourself as one of the questions in your $10 million lawsuit?
Yes, because I don't have the money to hire no attorney for federal court, and that's the thing, because it's so. Just say, for instance, if I hire a law firm, they if you got to think, we're going against the County of Los Angeles, child support, the district attorney, the judge. We're going to get all of these people. They have a wealth of, and we're in their venue. So say, for instance, if I hire an attorney or a law firm, they're going to bleed them dry. They're going to drag it out, and the money is at some point.
Right.
So for me,
that's the crazy part.
I'm on a fee waiver. So as long as y'all want to dance,
when you were
found guilty.
Right. That's the thing about the legal system. I think a lot of people don't understand. He who has the most gold rules, or in this case, if you own the actual system, because I've heard so many stories about people fraudulently taking someone to court and just doing it just to drain the person, knowing they're going to lose, but just draining the person's resources, knowing that they're going to be up to their eyeballs in legal fees, or just confused or whatever. It's so messed up on so many levels.
And that's the thing for me. Like, even if I lose, the fact that I'm being a thorn, I could have took the thousands that they offered to me. They made me 2 settlement offers after that. I still said no. I'm going. That's who I am. I'm standing on principles. I'm going to turn down some thousands to go after millions every time.
That part.
Every time.
Well, a lot of people are rooting for you. How can they formally support you if someone sees your situation, and on whatever level? Where are ways that people can contact you, support you, all of the above?
Everything is real simple. Childsupportisfraud.com.
Okay.
That's the hub. You can, at that point, you can, whether you want to get the book, you want to have consultations, mentorship. I'm not an attorney, so I can't represent you, but we can do mentorships and can educate you along the process. But I cannot physically go into a hearing to represent you. This is not a Mike Ross situation. This ain't Suits. I ain't going down like that.
My guy's watching Suits right now, so I just laughed. He literally just started that series. There's a link to the book, you guys, in the description of this video. So if you want to just click that, you can. Who is the book for? Who is going to be reading this book?
The book is for the parent that's been parental alienated against.
Okay, I just learned about that too, by the way.
Is for the parent that's told that you are a non-custodial parent. You have arrears. They suspended your driver's license, your passport, your income withholding order. They bank levied your bank account. For the person that's fighting for their children, fighting for more time, this book is for you. The book, it outlines my story, but at the same time, it's an education, and it gives you step by step on what I did, why I did it. Here's the laws, here's the case law to support it, and this is how I move forward. You have actual documents with my signature on them, with a judge signature on them, with child. You have actual documents, and it just guides you step by step. So it's a one of one.
Okay. That's awesome. We are going to take just a few questions. You can see the comments, correct? From where you are?
Click the chat.
Yeah, there should. I can't remember how it happens for the guests, but if
I see them now.
Okay, perfect. So I'll let you decide which ones. If any of you guys drop your questions now, if you have a question, there are questions being submitted all along, but I'm not going to scroll through and I won't ask you to. So if you remember one, or if you see one that sticks out.
Well, when I click the chat, I can't see here. So.
Oh, got you. So it shouldn't be the chat. It's the actual. The other thing that you can do if you have your device, you can actually, you'll just have to mute it, but you can go on YouTube itself and see them live in real time. So if you go to my
Got it.
page, that's another way. I think I saw your phone in your hand. Just turn the volume all the way down so we don't get crazy feedback. So his IG.
You can just go ahead and ask the questions and I'll answer them.
Okay, then I'll pick which one. Okay. So you guys, his Instagram, which I should have put that in the comments too. It is child support is fraud. Okay. She said found him. Child support, I'll put it is fraud. And because he got flagged on Instagram for having too many DMs, he has a special Instagram just for DMs. So is child support fraud? That is the second one. All right, so let me get to these questions. Shantae says she's ordering the book. Very nice. All right. Was the father's, I don't know if you want to answer this. Was the father someone else that was there that same day that you guys had your little sleepover? That was the first question that I saw.
So this is why I didn't want to
plead the fifth. You can plead the fifth.
So, yeah, I'm gonna let that one go.
Okay, look.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it go.
All right, y'all. I told him.
But so here's the thing. I'm gonna say, we transparent. Look, the answer, the short answer is no, but to add to that, there was one of my cousins that did cross gold. They did collect $200 that same night.
Trying to be professional. Made me laugh. Okay, my composure. Anywho, moving right along to the next question. Thank you for answering that. I'm doing my best. Yes, I'm doing my best to gain my composure. And I want to say this is so random, but you said Aunt Mabel. When you said Aunt Mabel, I just picture someone who could cook. Like it just, I don't know why, but it just sounds like I expect if I hear Aunt Mabel, she's throwing down, like she can whip up some fried chicken, she can do some collard greens.
And this is my great aunt. This is my mother's aunt. This is my great aunt.
And side note, you guys, you want to be paying attention to where your children are. Like I have to say that because the Bible says children left to themselves will come to destruction. It is human nature for a child to want to explore and investigate and what have you. And a lot of people are commenting about the ages. You're developing at that time. You know, you got different stuff and you're like, what do you have under the hood? So, you know, if you're not there as a parent to be closely monitoring, anything can happen. So, you know, I don't want anyone to have the attitude of I could never.
Even at your family house, and that's
usually I was just gonna say that's actually usually where abuse takes place the most, and you know, exploration. I know of a situation with cousins, and it severed the entire family because the two stories don't match. But same thing, you know, was it consensual? Was it not? And yeah, it's a lot can happen. So okay, let's see the next question. Thank you. He said, nice session. When you win federal court, it'll change the game for so many young men. And by the way, you can go back and read all the comments after. It usually takes, I think, about a day for the live stream comments to populate, and then they'll show up like the next day. Okay. Let's see. 10 million ain't enough for me. He said, people are saying you should become an attorney. Tell them to pay you the real.
So let me answer that. The reason why I have no interest in becoming an attorney is because general appearance. If you walk into a hearing and you make a general appearance, they send you a notice, you show up, you are recognizing the court's authority and you're giving them jurisdiction over you. You're waiving your rights by you showing up.
Showing up where?
To the actual hearing.
Wait.
So if they send you a summons saying you come to child support, when you show up, when you walk in those doors and you show up to the hearing, you made something called a general appearance, which a general appearance says, man, it literally says that. I'm gonna just pull this up real quick, real quick. Give me, I want to give y'all the exact.
I'm gonna put some comments up while you are looking for that. You got a lot of support. People are saying, "I pray you win."
A general appearance is made when a party first comes into court and appears in the case. The party may come for any reason that recognizes the authority of the court. This is not my opinion, this is fact. So if I become an attorney, by you hiring an attorney in that process, you waiving your rights because you recognize the authority. That's why you went and hired legal representation.
This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts.
That's why I made a special appearance on my own behalf. A special appearance, it counteracts to the general appearance.
Well, I have one final question, sir. What is coming up? What is on the horizon for you in the near future?
So in the near future, so this Saturday, I am one of the guest speakers in the Child Support 101 Expo. It's myself. One of my other guys, his name is Big Glenn Gorilla. He actually beat his child support case from the comfort of his home in the private. He got a whole crazy story, and how it's different. My guy, Brother Truth, and one of the guys that's part of it's quite a few of us. The Child Support 101 Expo is going down this Saturday at 3 p.m. It's a virtual event. So 4 speakers just speaking on their experiences with child support and education. You can check that out on childsupport101.com. Yeah, that's what's coming up. And then also December 16th, in my city, Compton, California, I'm holding my 5th annual Christmas tree giveaway. So I give away Christmas trees in my city every year.
Nice.
So it's like, I know people like to do toy drive. Everybody do toy drives. For me, being the person that thinks out the box, it's like, what else can I do? So I just figured out I'll just give Christmas trees away to families in need, and they send in information, and they get selected. They show up at a certain time, and we have a good time, and we give out Christmas trees to the families.
That's nice. If someone wants to contribute to giving away Christmas trees, is there a way for them to, or should they contact you? Okay.
Yeah, so they can donate on childsupportersfraud.com. There's a donate section at the bottom on the homepage. It says donate. So when you donate, just let it be known, put it in the box that is for the Christmas trees in Compton, and it'll go towards that.
Y'all, let me know. Did you enjoy this this conversation? We typically have panels and we're talking about things a little bit more lighthearted, but I heard this story and I'm like, I have to have you guys on. Y'all, if anyone wants to drop a badge, go ahead and drop a badge, show a little bit of support. Did I just use an Instagram term? I'm sorry, YouTube. Super chat. If you guys want to do a super chat and support the channel. I try to bring you guys great content every week, and I think I achieved that goal today. Thanks to you, sir. Thank you so much. Do you have anything in closing that you would like to share? Maybe you forgot to say, or you just want to get off your chest?
Yeah. So lastly, I would say, if anyone that watches, if you can hear the sound of my voice, if you've been incarcerated for child support, it is unlawful. But be clear, they will put you in jail.
Right.
If you don't invoke your rights, 28 USC 2007 says that no one can go to jail for a debt that is not based upon fraud. Yes. Now, before all the consumer law people that come in here and say the FDCPA, they don't recognize child support as a consumer debt, I'm not contesting that. I know that. What I'm saying is, I have in my possession a Supreme Court case law that overrides that case, and where they ruled that child support is a debt, and you cannot go to jail for debt that is not based upon fraud.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that and all the other information that you gave. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff tonight. I'm just going to check one more time to make sure there aren't any questions. My poor little mouse is so sensitive, or it's not sensitive. Okay, I think we're good. She said, I know when he won, he came out singing, "Today was a good day."
Man,
I love that.
Yeah, that's how child support fraud came about.
Man, well, you guys go ahead and follow him on Instagram and continue to stay updated with the story. Thanks again, Lionel. I appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we'll see you in the future in one of maybe the more lighthearted conversations.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Take care of them kids though, man, because this ain't no get out of jail free card.
That's right. That's right. All right, y'all. I will see you next week. I appreciate you guys watching. I can't get the thing to work. Hold on, y'all. I had a cute little graphic and I couldn't get it to apparently I don't know what I'm doing yet, y'all. I need help so bad. I was saying have a good night and thank you guys for watching. All right, let's see if I can actually do it this time. Oh, and make sure if you guys have not already, please hit that like button. It's really important for Instagram. Got my platforms mixed up again. It's very important for YouTube to know you guys enjoy the show. So if you haven't done so already, close the chat box, click the like button, and then you can come back in the chat, or you just click that like and then take off. Thank you so much. And please share this on your stories, on Instagram, share it wherever you can. We'd like to get this information out to as many people as possible. Have a good